get started with the regular scheduled meeting of the Waterloo Board of Adjustment for Tuesday, August 25th. We do have several items. One thing I guess I would ask, if there's anybody on Zoom, we heard that dog barking. Could you at least mute while we're not talking with you, whoever that was?
My apologies. I'm muted now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have an approval of the August 25th, 2020 agenda. You have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Beckman.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's approved. Just a quick comment. There is somebody in regards to number 3 that I believe wishes to speak, and but they have to leave by 5:30. I don't think that'll be a problem getting to that item completed before that time frame. So, okay, go back to the approval of the June 23rd minutes. Any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, our first item is a request by Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity for a variance to the minimum lot size requirements to allow for the splitting of 2 lots to be 4,200 square feet each, 1,800 square feet less than the minimum 6,000 square feet required in a R2 1 and 2 family residence located at the southwest corner of Iowa Street and Almond Streets. Staff report.
This is Dornoff with staff. The property is located east of 424 Almond Street. The site is currently zoned R3 Multiple Residence District and has been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance. Surrounding properties are zoned R3 Multiple Residence District and C2 Commercial District. The proposed request would be in classification of the areas mixed residential, low, medium, high density residential, professional offices, compatible commercial on the future land use map within the city of Waterloo, adopted in the comprehensive plan of February 3rd, 2003. The property was acquired by the city and the home demolished in 2010. This Iowa Habitat for Humanity is requesting a variance to allow for 2 buildable lots. The city of Waterloo has approved a memorandum of agreement with Walnut Neighborhood Coalition to assist in redevelopment of the Walnut Court neighborhood. Habitat for Humanity is in the process of building new homes and remodeling others in the neighborhood. The Board of Adjustment has previously approved similar requests from the city of Waterloo and Habitat for Humanity. Criteria: the lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable returns. The applicant could construct 1 home on the lot. Uniqueness: there appears to be uniqueness to the Walnut neighborhood as it was platted with small 30-foot wide lots, including 1 adjacent to the property split. Public consideration: there appeared to be no negative impact on the neighborhood, and staff is not receiving any opposition to the request. And staff has received 1 call about the request, and they were in support of it. And the Walnut Neighborhood Association has also voted today to say they support the project. Staff recommends that the variance to the minimum lot size requirement to allow for splitting of 2 lots to be 4,200 square feet each, 1,800 square feet less than the minimum 6,000 square feet required in the R3 Multiple Residence District located in the southwest corner of Iowa Street and Almond be approved for the following reasons. Replatting the property would create an opportunity to have 2 new structures on the property in question and would be compatible with the neighborhood. Approving the request would be consistent with the memorandum of agreement with the City of Waterloo and the Walnut Court Coalition, which encourages both rehabilitation of existing homes and construction of new ones. Third, would help bring additional economic development to the neighborhood. And also the adjoining neighbor, we talked to the owners there and they were in support of the project.
Okay. I have one question. Does Habitat have immediate plans for one or both of these lots, or is this just
Well,
proposal on their part?
Hi, this is Allie Parrish, the director over at Habitat. And yes, the one, we're actually putting in a foundation right now on the north side to stay on, with our building schedule. And we actually have a buyer who's interested in the south side as well. And we could have a home builders blitz starting there as soon as this September and house completed by October. So we are ready to go. And families already have chosen those locations and want to move in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions of staff?
Just for clarification, both of these residences would face Iowa Street, correct?
One would face Alman, one would face Iowa.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I have a question just from the front page of our adjustment agenda that says that it is an R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. And then in our further down says R3.
it is zoned R3. That was a mistake on
Okay.
the agenda.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the request? Assuming not, then, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak against the request? Assuming I see no movement of the camera, I assume there's no one there. So I guess I would, if there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request by Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity for a variance to the minimum lot size requirement to allow for the splitting of 2 lots to be 4,200 square feet each, 1,800 square feet less than the minimum 6,000 square feet required in an R3 multiple residence district located at the southwest corner of Iowa Street and Almond Street for the following reasons. Replatting the property would create an opportunity to have 2 new structures on the property in question. Questioning, is this worded correctly? Let's try that again. Replatting the property would create an opportunity to have 2 new structures on the property in questioning way that would be compatible with the neighborhood. Number 2, approving the request would be consistent with the memorandum of agreement between the City of Waterloo and the Walnut Court Coalition, which encourages both the rehabilitation of existing houses and the construction of new ones. Number 3, will help bring additional economic development into the neighborhood. It has seen a lot of activity over the last couple of years since the memorandum was signed.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, it's carried. Okay, our second request is by Gene and excuse me, by Gene and Richard Hansen for a variance to allow for the construction of a 24 by 24 foot accessory structure in the front yard and a variance to rehabilitate an existing 10 by 16 foot legal non-conforming accessory structure, also located in the front yard in an R1 1 and 2 family residence located at 4524 Hawk Road. Staff report.
Yeah, this is Heimberger with the staff report. Property is located at 4524 Hoff Road, which is located southwest of Hoth Road and the Cars Road intersection. The property in question, as well as all other surrounding properties, are zoned R1, 1 and 2 family residence district, and has been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. Request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The property and surrounding areas are all zoned R1, 1 and 2 family residence district. The request would not have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area either. The proposed request would be in conformance with the classification of this area as low-density residential on the future land use map within the City of Waterloo Comprehensive Plan, adopted February 3rd, 2003. The area currently has a 12-inch storm sewer with 4-inch tile and a 8-inch sanitary sewer underneath Hoff Road. No utilities will be impacted by this project. The section of zoning ordinance pertains to the request is Chapter 5, General Regulations, accessory structures 10.5.1, nonconforming uses of land, nonconforming uses of premises, and nonconforming lots of record for nonconforming structures. The applicant is requesting a variance to construct a new 24 by 24, 576 square feet accessory structure in the front yard that will have a setback of 126 feet. In addition, a variance is also being requested to rehabilitate an existing 10 by 16 legal nonconforming accessory structure that is located 112 feet from the front yard property line and is going to be placed 2 feet to the east of the proposed 576 square foot accessory structure. As part of the variance request, the existing 24 by 24 accessory structure was constructed in 1968, will be demolished, and a new accessory structure will be built over the previous one. 10 by 16 accessory structure will be rehabilitated to match up with the new accessory structure. It should also be noted that the R1, 1 and 2 family residence district only require a front yard setback of 30 feet for a new home. The applicant is requesting to have the two accessory structures to be set back 112 and 126 feet from the front yard property line and placed into the front yard of the home at 14524 Hoff Road. These accessory structures are set so far back from the street that they will have minimal to no impact on neighboring properties. The property currently has a similar accessory structure in the front yard that were built prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. Because of the excessively large front yard setback, the buildings will be well behind the front yard setback of other adjacent homes. For the three criteria, lack of reasonable return, there would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request because the applicant could simply place the new garage and 10 by 16 accessory structure to the west of the existing house and be in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Uniqueness. There would appear to be some uniqueness to the request as the garage and the 10 by 16 accessory structure will at least be 112 feet from the front property line when a home only requires a 30-foot front yard setback in the R1, 1 and 2 family residence district. And there are existing structures located in the front yard well built that were built prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. Public considerations. Approval of the request is not anticipated to have a negative impact on the area by having a home placed in the front of the home when the new garage and 10 by 16 accessory structure will still at least be 112 feet from the front property line. Staff recommends that the request by Jean and Richard Hansen for a variance to allow for the construction of a 24 by 24 accessory structure in their front yard and a variance to rehabilitate an existing 10 by 16 legal nonconforming accessory structure also located in the front yard in the R1, 1 and 2 family residence district located at 4524 Hoff Road be approved for the following reasons. There would appear to be some uniqueness to the request. Due to that, the garage and accessory structure to be rehabilitated will still be set back at least 112 feet from the front yard property line. Despite the fact that both structures are being placed in the front yard and there are existing structures located in the front yard were built prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. Approval of the 112 and 126 front yard setbacks for the two accessory structures would not appear to alter the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and the structures will still be well behind the front yard setback from adjacent homes. And that's Heiberger with the staff report.
Okay, I just have one clarification. When you're talking about the accessory structures that are existing now, those are garages? Both of them are garages now?
I believe one is currently used as a garage, and then there's like a smaller accessory structure, 10 by 16. I'm not quite sure if that's utilized as a garage now, though.
Okay.
Not my turn yet.
Is there any other questions of staff? Okay, is there anybody there that wishes to speak in favor of the request?
I would like to, I'm Richard Hansen, my wife Jean Wagner. The smaller garages we currently use for storing our lawnmower and miscellaneous items. We simply intend, the garage is old, we'll just put it in the same spot, will not change where it's located at all in the lot. Our house was originally built here in 1929 and is the layout, and so the neighborhood kind of grew around us. The garages are actually in the back, adjacent to the backyard of the houses to the north, and pretty close to the backyards of the houses to the south of us. If you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make one comment that let's correct this official report to show the name as Jean Wagner. The request on page 13 is incorrectly presented.
Okay.
And also, let's make a note that there was a document presented that shows that there are several signatures that are in favor consenting to this variance.
Okay. Could we just also make a comment, and I don't know if this is, I guess I've never really paid that much attention, that the 24 by 24 existing accessory structure is a garage now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Can we just put maybe even just in parentheses, put garage, so you're not really adding anything to the property as such, you're just remodeling and rebuilding.
That's correct.
So we talk about it as a garage in one spot and accessory structure in another, so I just want the minutes to reflect that we're talking about the same thing. Okay, anybody else wish to speak in favor of the request? Is there anybody there that wishes to speak against the request? Okay, seeing or hearing none, if there's no more comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request by Jean Wagner and Richard Hansen for a variance to allow for the construction of a 24 by 24 foot accessory structure, a garage in the front yard, and a variance to rehabilitate an existing 10 by 16 legal non-conforming accessory structure also located in the front yard of their property located at 4524 Hoff Road, and for the following reason. There would appear to be some uniqueness to this request due to the fact that the new garage, the 24 by 24 square foot accessory structure, and the 10 by 16 accessory structure to be rehabilitated would still be set back at least 112 feet from the front yard property line, despite the fact that both structures are being placed in the front yard. And there are existing structures located in the front yard that were built prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. Secondly, approval of a 112 and 126 foot front yard setbacks for the two accessory structures would not appear to alter the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and the structures will still be well behind the front yard setback of adjacent homes.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The request was approved. Okay, I guess we're gonna move up the street about a couple hundred yards and a request by Michael Dahl and Brian Kennett on behalf of Justin and Christy Doms for a variance to the 1,800 square foot detached accessory structure maximum size requirements to allow for an existing 1,152 square foot garage located at 4245 West 4th Street to be combined with the property at 4202 Harbin Drive, in addition to an existing 900 square foot garage and 1,120 square foot barn, for a total of 3,172 square feet, 1,372 square feet more than what is allowed in an R1, R2 family district located at 4202 Harbin Drive. Staff report.
This is Western with staff. The applicant owns the property at 4245 West 4th Street, and the owner of 4202 Harbin Drive, directly to the east, would like to purchase the 1,152 square foot garage built in 1960, which would further put that property over the maximum square footage allowance for detached structures, which was previously approved by variance to be 220 square feet over the maximum allowed. The garage is located to the west of 4202 Harbin Drive along West 4th Street. The property at 4202 Harbin Drive is zoned R3, multiple residence district, and has been zoned as such since April of 1979. The property at 4245 West 4th Street was recently rezoned from A1 Agricultural District to R1, 1 and 2 Family Residence District, and final platted into a 5-lot residential subdivision in July of 2018. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area, as the garage has been there since 1960 and no new structures are being constructed. The variance would not change any existing accessory structures. It would just shift which property they are associated with. The request would not appear to have a negative impact upon traffic conditions in the area. The proposed request would be in conformance with classification of this area as residential on the future land use map within the city of Waterloo. Comprehensive plan adopted February 3rd, 2003. In 2018, the applicant platted 4245 West 4th Street into 5-lot residential subdivision with the intention of selling the existing 1,120 square foot barn located on Lot 5 of that subdivision, which is known as Kendall First Edition, to the owners of 4202 Harbin Drive. This then put that property over the 1,800 square foot detached structure maximum due to there being an existing 900 square foot detached garage on the property. Lot 5 and 4202 Harbin Drive were tied together through a restrictive covenant, as a detached accessory structure cannot be on a lot by itself. Lot 5 of Kendall First Edition is 0.46 acres in size, and 4202 Harbin Drive is 0.96 acres in size. After the two lots were combined, 4202 Harbin Drive now has a lot size of 1.42 acres, or 61,930 square feet. After platting the property, the applicant received the variance to the 1,800 square foot detached accessory structure maximum size requirements on behalf of the owner at 4202 Harbin Drive to allow for an existing 1,120 square foot barn located at 4245 West 4th Street to be combined with the property at 4202 Harbin Drive, in addition with an existing 900 square foot garage, for a total of 2,020 square feet, 220 square feet more than what is allowed. This variance was approved by the Board of Adjustment on August 28, 2018. The applicant is now wanting to sell a 76-foot by 70-foot .10 portion of the original Lot 2 to be renamed as Parcel L once sold. That includes the 1,152 square foot garage to the owners of 4202 Harbin Drive, which would increase the detached accessory structure square footage from 2,020 square feet to 3,172 square feet, 1,372 square feet over the maximum 1,800 square feet allowed. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a variance to the 1,800 square foot detached accessory structure maximum size requirements on behalf of the property owner at 4202 Harbin Drive to allow for an existing 1,152 square foot garage located at 4245 West 4th Street to be combined with the property at 4202 Harbin Drive, in addition to an existing 900 square foot existing garage and a 1,020 square foot barn, for a total of 3,172 square feet, 1,372 square feet more than what is allowed located at 4202 Harbin Drive. Lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request, as the applicant could keep the barn tied to 4245 West 4th Street and be in compliance with the detached accessory structure provisions. Uniqueness. There appears to be a uniqueness to this request, as the garage has been there since 1960 and no new structures are being constructed. Therefore, the appearance of the area would not be changing. Public consideration. Staff does not believe that exceeding the square footage requirement by 1,372 square feet would negatively impact the surrounding area, given the uniqueness of the situation. And we did have a couple of calls and one visit. Once everyone understood what was being proposed, they were okay with it. We had no objections on file. Staff recommends that the variance request by Michael Dahl and Brian Kennett on behalf of Justin and Christy Doms for a variance to the 1,800 square foot detached accessory structure maximum size requirements to allow for an existing 1,152 square foot garage located at 4245 West 4th Street be combined with the property at 4202 Harbin Drive, in addition to an existing 900 square foot garage and a 1,120 square foot barn, for a total of 3,170 square feet, 1,370 square feet more than what is allowed in an R1 1 and 2 family residence district located at 4202 Harbin Drive, be approved for the following reasons. There appears to be a uniqueness to the request, as the garage has been there since 1960 and no new structures are being constructed. Therefore, the appearance of the area would not be changing. Also, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And with the following conditions, that Lot 10 of Audubon Park 5th Edition is tied to the portion of Lot 2 of Kendall 1st Edition that contains the garage through a restrictive covenant. Any questions?
Chris, just one point. Under public considerations, it reads staff does believe that exceeding, but you stated staff does not.
Oh, sorry, I left that out. Does
So
not.
it should be does not?
Correct.
Okay.
Chris, this is Jerry. In the description on page 22, in the request, it says that Harbin Drive is R1, but then when you go to the section that says location, current zoning, and zoning history, it says it's R3.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. It splits where there's two different, and I can show you on the county website here quick if you'd like. So, yeah, I don't know if they can see it actually. So the best way I can explain it, because okay, you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so this part here, that's all R1. And then here, Harbin Drive, 4202 Harbin Drive is zone R3.
Okay. So does that shift in any way the number of square feet that we're approving as out of line with the ordinance?
It does not. The ordinance just simply states within the city limits No matter many acres of land you have, your max is 1,800 square feet, regardless of zoning.
Okay. Well, maybe I would request that you clean up this report to make it consistent with whatever the property address is zoned, their zoning nomenclature.
Okay.
So I see that the 4245 West 4th Street is up for sale. And by cutting this out of that, it will not create any issues with size remaining for the sale of 4245
No, it would
West
not.
4th.
It would not. The minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet, and this one is 23,129 square feet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, did you ever come up with lot lines for Harbin?
My GIS software needs to be updated, but right here, I'll show you this. I just kind of hand drew it here. So,
Are we supposed to be able to see something? I'm not seeing anything.
Are you drawing on one of the diagrams we have in our package, Chris?
yeah, I don't know if there's a way we can make you see this. So Beckman was wanting a little bit more clarification of what the lot lines look like for each owner. So what you're looking at, they can see that, right?
In their
Oh,
packet.
okay.
Are you looking on page 29 in our
Oh,
package?
yeah, okay, sorry, we'll do it that way. I thought you could see that. So let's go to page 28.
Okay.
28 is the existing lot as it sits now with that building on it that they're proposing to buy. Okay. Now you go to 29, it shows the split, the 70-foot.
This is a KWWL, Storm Track 7 update.
So where it says, you see where it says parcel K, and then it says, has the legal description, lot 2, that's the part they're splitting off, and that's where the building is. And the rest of the remainder of that lot 2 to the west will be sold separately. So since you're here, Mr. Beckman, if you look here, see that red box around the building? That's approximately what's being sold off, and we'll go with that yellow, and then that yellow goes with Harbin.
This is Schrader with staff. I'm not sure if that's clear, but so the original Ken Dahl development was split into 5 lots. Lot 5 is the one that's back behind lot 1 and 2 that has the white barn on it that has already been sold to the adjacent neighbors to the east off of Harbin. And now those adjacent neighbors to the east off of Harbin are proposing to buy this additional little 70, I think it's 70 by 88. Yeah, it's the full width, 70.1 by 88 foot, 0.14 acre that has the garage out in front of the white barn. The remainder of lot 12 there to the west and lot 1 would stay together with the old farmhouse on it, which is currently listed for sale.
Okay.
So that will kind of have an L shape
And they kind of have an L shape around that garage, yes,
for the existing.
for the existing house, farmhouse.
And then does Harbin extend, see the yellow highlighted area?
Yeah, what's in yellow right there is lot 5.
Which is all of Harbin now?
Well, no, because they own, so now click on the one.
So, we own that yellow and this.
and are proposing to buy the other little piece.
Okay, thank you.
Did any other members have questions on that?
I'm good. Jerry and John, were you around when we did this in August of 2018?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't think April was, though, were you?
I was not.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any other questions of staff, I guess? Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the request?
This is Justin Dams. I'm on the phone. Appreciate your time. I'm mainly here just for clarification and if you have any questions for me, but staff, I think, has painted a real clear picture there. They've got an existing garage that I'd like to purchase, and as you can see in the pictures there, kind of a natural extension of our backyard from that standpoint. So, but happy to entertain any questions you've got for me.
All right.
And I'm Mike Dahl, and I'm available in the same capacity Justin is if there's any questions for clarification, but that report sounded pretty thorough to me, so hopefully it painted an accurate picture of what we're asking for.
Just a quick question, and I'm not sure if this is staff or what. So the west part of this lot, you would never divide that off to try to sell that parcel as a separate lot. Is that correct? It would have to go with the house.
The west part of Lot 2?
Yes. Yes. The 145 by 76.
Yes, Lot 2 we would in fact sell. In the reduced capacity, we have a buyer that was not interested in the east part of the lot.
Okay.
With the building on it, and Justin was. So the existing Lot 1 with the farmhouse would shape an L now. Off West 4th Street, it would go to the east, and then it would turn 90 degrees and include that small parcel L. And Justin would like to add parcel L to his Lot 5, attach the outbuilding to his residence at Harbin, and then the farmhouse has a small single garage, and it would be sold, by itself. And it's a very large lot as well. I think I don't remember. It's more than half an acre. I don't recall exactly, but it's big. It's like 4 times the minimum lot size. Not including parcel L that has this other outbuilding on it.
Okay. No, I just meant, I understand you're going to have the L with the existing lot 1, I guess it would be, to the north.
Right.
But what I was asking was, were you dividing off and selling Lot 2 separate by itself?
Lot 2 is sold with the other lots 3 and 4 as a whole big piece of land. So the remaining lots that are undeveloped would be sold or have been sold as a package.
This is Schrader with staff. So if you look at page 30, that shows that kind of remainder of Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4. They kind of have one survey around that, and they have a agreement to sell that, or I think actually they've already closed and sold that with a buyer that is looking to do a replat of it. That replat will have to come back through the plat approval process before the Planning Commission and City Council. They haven't submitted anything on that yet, but that is their plan as I understand it.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I don't have any other questions.
So I just want to clarify, because I wasn't a part of Board of Adjustment when this occurred before. So Justin and Christy live at 4202 Harbin Drive.
Correct.
That's correct.
You would like this barn and accessory structure to be
Correct.
added
So 2
into
years
your
ago,
property.
correct. So we bought what is called Lot 5 there with the white barn on it as a separate, just under half-acre lot, and are now looking to add that garage.
Got it. Thank you.
But the white barn is on a separate half-acre lot, so this would kind of be combined with that as well. And then just for background for the folks that weren't part of that, that white barn was finished off into kind of rec space, just for your information. So that's full of ping pong table, pool table type stuff. It's not full of a car collection or storage. This garage that I'm interested in adding now would be used as a garage for storage and workshop.
Accessible how?
There's a 20-foot easement from 4th Street to Lot 5.
Go back up, Chris. The easement is labeled there at the top of
So that's
page
page 28, page 28, okay.
Yeah, it's also shown on 30. But yeah, 28 shows it. He has an easement across there. And he also owns all abutting land there straight from him, so he can access it straight, but he doesn't have a physical driveway that goes all the way to there, but he has an easement through the driveway off of West 4th. That easement then is also currently being used to access the single-family home, the existing farmhouse.
Okay. Anybody else there that wishes to speak in favor of the request? Hearing or seeing none, is there anybody there wish to speak against the request? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve that the variance request by Michael Dahl and Brian Kennett on behalf of Justin and Christy Doms for a variance to the 1,800 square foot detached accessory structure maximum size requirements to allow for an existing 1,152 square foot garage located at 4245 West 4th Street to be combined with the property at 4202 Harbin Drive, in addition to an existing 900 square foot garage and 1,120 square foot barn for a total of 3,172 square feet, 1,372 square feet more than what is allowed in an R1 and 2 family residence district located at 4202 Harbin Drive, be approved for the following reasons. There appears to be a uniqueness to the request, as the garage has been there since 1960 and no new structures are being constructed. Therefore, the appearance of the area would not be changing. Number 2, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood, and with the following condition: that Lot 10 of Audubon Park 5th Edition is tied to that portion of Lot 2 in Ken Dahl 1st Edition that contains the garage through a restrictive covenant.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, we have number 4, request by Nagel Signs on behalf of the City of Waterloo for a variance to the outdoor advertising signs and billboard requirements, regulations to allow for the installation of two 48 square foot freestanding signs for a total of 176 square feet of signage, 136 square feet more than the maximum of 40 square feet of total signage allowed, and a variance to allow for the existing freestanding signs in the C3 Central Business District located at 420 Jefferson Street, Waterloo Expo Plaza. Staff report.
Yeah, this is Heimberger with the staff report. The applicant is requesting to install two new 48 square foot freestanding interchangeable signs along Park Avenue between Washington and Jefferson Streets. The property's been zoned C3 commercial district since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. Properties surrounding the site are also zoned C3 commercial district. The site is surrounded by commercial development. The two 48 square feet signs will be interchangeable to advertise upcoming Waterloo Expo Plaza events. The request would not appear to have any negative impact on traffic in the area. Underneath Jefferson Street, there's 36 sanitary sewer main, 36 storm sewer, and 6-inch water main. Underneath Park Avenue, there's 18-inch sanitary sewer main, 27-inch storm sewer, and 12-inch water main. No utilities will be impacted with this request. Future land use map designates this area as commercial. The request would be in conformance with the future land use map. In the C3, commercial one-post pole or monument sign with a maximum square footage of 80, with no one side being greater than 40 square feet is allowed. In addition, one freestanding sign is allowed per property unless they are at least 150 feet apart. The site is unique because it contains monument signs to properly direct members of the public to the Waterloo Expo Plaza entrances, and these signs are more for directional purposes as opposed to advertising purposes. Very similar to when signs are used to direct a member of the public to a subdivision as opposed to having an overconcentration of advertising within the downtown area. Okay, the criteria for the request: lack of reasonable return. There would appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request. The existing proposed interchangeable signs is needed to advertise upcoming Waterloo Expo Center events. Uniqueness. There appears to be somewhat of a uniqueness to this request. Freestanding signage is rather limited in the C3 Central Business District, and the Waterloo Expo Plaza signage is used more for directional purpose and not advertising. The two proposed 48 square feet interchangeable signs are needed from an economic development standpoint to promote community events and bring people downtown. 3, public considerations. The request would not appear to have a negative impact in the area and would be compatible with surrounding uses. Staff has not heard any objections to this request. Therefore, staff recommends that a request by Nagel Signs on behalf of the City of Waterloo for variance to the outdoor advertising signs and billboard regulations to allow for the installation of two 48 square foot freestanding signs for a total of 176 square feet of signage, 136 square feet more than the maximum of 40 square feet of total signage allowed, and a variance to allow for the proposed freestanding signs to be located less than the minimum distance of 150 feet from existing freestanding signs in the C3 Central Business District located at 420 Jefferson Street, City Waterloo Expo Plaza, be approved for the following reasons. 1, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The additional square footage of signage is needed to promote Waterloo Expo Plaza events. And this request is unique due to the fact that most of the existing signage is used for directional purposes and not for advertising purposes. And that's Heiberger with the staff report.
Any questions of staff? I think it's a pretty straightforward and simple request.
Very handsome sign.
Yes.
That they are.
Is there any, is Mason the one that's on this one? I can't remember. But it looks like we lost Mason, didn't we?
Huh.
He had internet problems that came up on my screen anyway.
Okay. Is there anybody there who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Hearing or seeing none, is there anybody there that wishes to speak against the request? Okay. Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request by Nagel Signs on behalf of the City of Waterloo for a variant to the outdoor advertising signs and billboards regulations to allow for the installation of two 48-square-foot freestanding signs for a total of 176 square feet of signage, 136 square feet more than the maximum of 40 square feet of total signage allowed, and a variance to allow the proposed freestanding signs to be located less than the minimum distance of 150 feet from existing freestanding signs in the C3 Central Business District, located at 420 Jefferson Street, City of Waterloo Expo Plaza, for the following reasons. Number one, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. Number two, the additional square footage of signage is needed to promote Waterloo Expo Plaza events. And number three, this request is unique due to the fact that most of the existing signage is used for directional purposes and not advertising purposes.
Second.
Okay. Okay, any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, it's been approved.
And Mason just joined us.
Yeah, just in time.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry, my laptop apparently died on me in the middle there.
Yeah,
I'm glad I could hear the first 44 minutes of the meeting, though.
yeah.
Very nice
All right.
design in those signs.
Thank you. Carry on.
Okay, number 5, request by Nathan Kalala for a special permit to allow for a religious facility to be located at 1712 West 4th Street in an R4 multiple residence district. Staff report?
This is Western with staff. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area. The site has been previously used as a religious facility in the past with no known negative impacts from that time. The proposed request would not have a negative impact upon vehicular or pedestrian traffic in the area, as the site meets the minimum amount of parking stalls of 22 in the rear of the property. The property is located at the Six Corners intersection, which consists of West 4th Street, Kimball Avenue, Campbell Avenue, Williston Avenue. West 4th Street and Kimball Avenue are characterized as minor arterial roadways, while Campbell Avenue and Williston Avenue are classified as collector streets. The property in question is zoned R4, multiple residence district, and has been zoned as such since the adoption of the City of Waterloo ordinance in 1969. Surrounding land uses include to the north, residential homes, R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. To the south, Zion Lutheran Church and residential homes zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. To the east, a mix of commercial businesses zoned C2 commercial district and residential homes zoned R2, 1 and 2 family district. To the west, there's a mix of apartment complexes and residential homes zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district and R4 multiple residence district. The area consists of commercial businesses to the east that were built between 1970 and 1994. Quick Start to the northeast was built in 1994, while the Mini Mart convenience store to the south of Quick Start was built in 1970. A majority of the homes in the area were built primarily in early 1900s. The applicant is requesting a special permit to convert 1,300 square feet of the building into a religious facility located within a C2 commercial district. The 2,318 square foot building was built in 1966 and is a 2-story structure with office space on the second floor and a sanctuary on the first floor. The second floor will be used as office space for the church, although this location is primarily a residential area. A church can be located with any zoning district upon approval of the special permit. The zoning ordinance requires that religious facilities have 1 parking space for each 4 persons of maximum occupancy of the sanctuary, auditorium, or main hall, as provided by the current adopted building code. According to the latest estimate submitted by the applicant, the worship area will be 1,300 square feet, Estimated occupancy at one person per 7 square feet gives an estimate occupancy of 88, which would translate into a need for 22 parking stalls, which are existing on the site. The building had been previously used as part of Zion Lutheran Church, once serving as a location for its youth ministry activities. The layout and hours of the church facility would appear to be compatible to the immediate and abutting properties to this location. The request was recommended for approval unanimously by the Waterloo Planning and Zoning Commission at the August 4th, 2020 meeting. Therefore, staff would recommend approval of the request by Nathan Kalala for a special permit to allow for a religious facility to be located at 1712 West 4th Street in an R4 multiple residence district for the following reasons. The request is in an area zone R4 multiple residence district with a mixture of residential and commercial uses surrounding it. It would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. It would not appear to have a negative impact on pedestrian or vehicular traffic in the area, as there are adequate parking. There's adequate parking for the proposed use.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience which to speak in favor of the request?
I would speak in favor of the request. I've known Nathan for about a year, and he came to me with signage needs, and our current proposal is to move one of his existing signs from down the street on 5th Street to this new address. And I've spoken with Eric and some other people at the city about the sign regulations and that kind of thing, but we need this approval to go forward before he can hang his sign on the building.
Okay. Is there anybody else there who speak in favor? Does anybody wish to speak against the request? Hearing and seeing none, no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. So I will make a motion to approve the request by Nathan Kalala for a special permit to allow for a religious facility to be located at 1712 West 4th Street in an R4 multiple residence district for the following reasons. Number one, the request is in an area zoned R4 multiple residence district with a mixture of residential and commercial uses surrounding it. Number two, it would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And number three, it would not appear to have a negative impact on the pedestrian or vehicular traffic in the area, as there is adequate parking for the proposed use.
Is there a second? Okay. Any further comment? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Our seventh item. Our sixth item. Request by Franklin Clapper for a special permit to allow for a hobby farm and a variance to the density of animals allowed and to allow the fencing of the hobby farm in the front yard located at 3919 Texas Street in an M1 light industrial district. Staff report.
This is Dornoff with staff. The applicants are requesting a special permit for an urban animal hobby farm that would allow them to have 13 chickens and 1 goat. It would not appear to request to have a negative impact on the area. There are no other homes in the area, with the only neighbors being Aspearl site to the north and a city pump facility to the south. The site in question is zoned M1 in light industrial district and has been zoned as such since the adoption of zoning ordinance number 2479 in 1969. Surrounding land uses and their zoning are as follows. To the north, vacant land, Iowa Northern Railroad and the Cedar River, zoned M1 light industrial district and A1 agricultural district. To the east is the Iowa Northern Railroad and the Cedar River, zoned A1 agricultural district. To the west is Texas Street and US Highway 218, Interstate 380, Zone M1 Light Industrial District and A1 Agricultural District. To the south is Texas Street, the City Pump Building, and US Highways 2218 and Interstate 380 interchange. The home on the site was built in 1920. There are no other buildings in the area. Screening would not be required for this request as there's no neighbors. The City of Waterloo adopted the Urban Animal Hobby Farm regulations, which states that UAHF should be allowed within the City of Waterloo city limits on lots or parcels of land as an accessory use to a principal dwelling with several criteria are met. To be allowed to have a large or intermediate sized animal such as a goat, a minimum fence confined area of 40,000 square feet for the first two animals and 20,000 square feet for additional animal in the rear or side yard is required. For small size animals such as chickens, minimum fence confined area of 10,000 square feet for the first two animals and 2,500 square feet for each additional animal in the side or rear yard is required. There will also be a 10-foot setback of the fence confined area from neighboring property lines for a UAHF containing any large or intermediate sized animals, and said fence confined area for all UAHFs shall not be located in the front yard. The applicant is requesting a special permit to allow for an urban animal hobby farm to allow for 13 chickens and 1 goat. At the present time, the property is not properly fenced and would need to be fenced to meet the requirements of the ordinance unless approved by variance. Even if properly fenced, the property would only have 23,750 square feet of fenced area for the intermediate animals that does not meet the requirements of the ordinance to allow for the goat. For smaller animals, there would be 28,400 square feet of fenced area. The ordinance would allow for 9 animals such as chickens. The property requesting the special permit is located on Texas Street with no other residents nearby. The closest residence is located on the south side of the US Highway 20 and Interstate 380. During tech review, Brian Schoen from Intercog noted that the property is isolated, so probably a good place for a hobby farm. The Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission recommended approval of a special permit for 9 chickens, but conditioned that the lot be properly fenced. It was noted during the meeting that 2 of the chickens have died, so there's currently 11 remaining. The applicant noted that currently they have a fenced enclosure, but the fenced enclosure includes the front yard, which is prohibited by the urban hobby farm portion of the zoning ordinance, so a variance would be required to allow for that front yard fencing. Looking at the current fenced area, approximately 19,800 square feet of fenced areas there, which would allow for 5 chickens, but not the goat. The applicants did apply for a permit to install the remaining fencing. If the Board of Adjustment does approve a variance to allow the existing fencing area to remain in the front yard, then the site will have 30,075 square feet of fenced area, allowing the applicants to keep 10 chickens. However, the goat will still not be permitted since the total fenced area is less than 40,000 square feet required, and the fence would not meet the 10-foot setback requirements. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return on the request. Uniqueness. There would appear to be uniqueness to the request as the property does not have any residents around it, and apparently previous owners had used it as a hobby farm, however, without a permit. Public considerations. Approval of the variance would not appear to have a negative impact on the area as there is no other homes in the area. And the property borders the city pump station, the Iowa Northern Railroad, and the Aspro asphalt facility. There is no planning required as part of this request. Therefore, staff recommends that the request for a special permit to allow the urban animal hobby farm with 13 chickens and 1 goat located at 3919 Texas Street be denied for the following reasons. The area dedicated to the goat is 16,250 square feet short of the required minimum fenced area, confined area of 40,000 square feet. To allow for 1 goat, it would not meet the 10-foot setback. The area dedicated to the 13 chickens is 9,100 square feet short of the required minimum fence confined area of 37,500 square feet to allow for 13 chickens if properly fenced. However, staff recommends that approval for a special permit to allow for an urban animal hobby farm with 9 chickens generally located at 3919 Texas Street be approved for the following reasons. The request would meet the density requirements of the newly passed urban animal hobby farm regulations for 9 chickens. The applicants do not have any residential neighbors near them, with the following conditions: that the property be properly fenced per the regulations for the urban animal hobby farm.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Okay. Any?
I think Jerry's talking, but you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask about I don't see in here about that front fencing. If the whole property was fenced, how many square feet would that be? Is that the 23,750?
It'd be the 30,000, which would allow for 10 chickens.
30,000. So and do the chickens and the goat occupy the same property, the same area?
Yes, I believe so.
But I think what she's asking is if
Yeah.
you would have chickens and goats, would you have to add up separately each section for each animal?
Yes, you would.
Okay, so if you had 40,000 square feet, you could have a goat, but you couldn't have chickens then by the regular.
Okay, so here's another question. Looking at page 49, which is the aerial view of the property, is there any way that there would be any other lots there that could be built on
No, it's
between the two highways?
yeah, the property to the south is owned by the county and the city pump stations on it, and to the north is owned by Aspro. So
it's sort of a landlocked piece of property
correct.
as far as the residents.
Correct.
And probably no doubt in 1920 there were farm animals on that land.
Yep.
One other question: do you know if the goat is a kid goat, a miniature, or is it a full-size goat?
Miniature, apparently.
A miniature. So is that a small animal, according to the ordinance?
But it'd still be considered an intermediate animal per the ordinance passed by city council. But you can also consider that uniqueness too, so.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I think this is our second hobby farm presentation since the ordinance was changed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know who was all on the board at that time. And I think there was reasons and there was objections because it was in a neighborhood and there was some issues with neighbors and the horses, I believe, that they were trying to have there. You're dealing with a property that is so remote and it would never be built on, and then it would never have any neighbors of any kind. I hate to I know that when we didn't want to overrule the first one that came to us, as far as allowing whatever that was exactly. But I don't see any objection to the difference between 9 or 11 chickens on this particular property. Maybe not have the goat, or even 13 chickens. Frankly, I would probably go that if you want to go back up to the 13, I'd approve that without the goat. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I think there's enough uniqueness to this property that it certainly wouldn't set a precedent.
Is the property owner there? Would it be appropriate for me to ask a couple of questions to the property owner?
Yes, my name is Franklin
Did-
Clapper. I live at 3919 Texas Street.
Okay. Are you in the chambers or? Oh, okay. There, we're getting you.
Can you tell me a little bit about your goat?
He's a really friendly goat. He's a miniature goat. I bought him for my 3-year-old daughter. He has adequate shelter. I bring in hay and corn and all the nutrients he needs. He has his own little house that we had built. It's not permanent, but it's staked down to where the weather and rain can't mess with him. And if you go a half a mile down the road, there's a farm, and it's actually called Kiefer Farms. And there's about 60 goats on this farm. So that's why I originally said, hey, I can get one goat. They have about 60 goats in a smaller area that I have. And I do have fencing. I think it's on the north side of the property. If you're standing in the street staring at my driveway on the right-hand side of the property, that whole area is fenced in up to about 20 feet away from the pump house.
How much does your goat weigh?
I believe he weighs about 40 to 45 pounds.
And I'm guessing he eats some grass at your property too?
Yes, I mow grass for him, or I let him free graze, and then I also bring in the hay and the corn and the nutrients blocks.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to put this out here because I don't think I was on Board of Adjustment when you had your first go around with the new hobby farm rules. I can tell you that my dog weighs more than twice as much as his goat.
That's technically what I consider him is. He's a family pet. He's not there for food. He's not there for any other reason except my 3-year-old daughter seen him and loved him when we went to Waverly Animal Sales. So I bought it for her, and that's her best friend.
And I think that just from my own experience with goats, they eat a lot of weeds. They eat a lot of grass. They are very beneficial to a small farm like that. I don't see any reason why having a goat on this particular property and even 13 or however many chickens he has is a problem. Chickens and goats don't generally eat the exact same things. So it's not as if there's not plenty of room for them to move around. I think there's not a problem.
Okay. Would you, I'm sorry, April, would you be saying a goat and 13 chickens or a goat and 9 chickens?
I would say a goat and 13 chickens.
Okay.
Because I'm guessing he has a chicken coop or somewhere that the chickens go.
Yes, I do.
And he already stated that he has a place for his goat.
Yep, they have.
I think he said he only have 11 chickens left. I don't know if we, maybe want to compromise at 11 since that's what he has without adding to it. Any other comments from Jerry or John?
I would agree that, 11 chickens, chickens don't live that long. The number varies all the time. Things happen to chickens. And I'm absolutely supportive that he have that little miniature goat. This property is so unique that I would be in support of it.
And
Okay.
that's why I kind of got the chickens too, is like you stated, the mosquitoes being by the river so bad. They're like little raptors and they eat all the flies and bugs and mosquitoes. And it actually brings down the mosquito population by my house.
Could you bring them over to my house?
Yeah.
Do you live at a hobby farm?
No. I just have a lot of mosquitoes.
So we still need to have fencing.
It's completely fenced in, and I just came in and also got a permit to put a 6-foot by I think it was that whole left side of the property, well, right side if you're standing in the street. I'm putting 6 foot by 8 foot panels all the way around the whole entire right side of the property if you're standing in the road.
This is Schrader with staff. So staff was a little hesitant in its recommendation to go contrary to the urban animal hobby farm requirements, since it is relatively new. We haven't seen too many requests, but we do recognize that this is a very unique site. Just if the goat is going to be approved, that is considered an intermediate sized animal. So the fencing requirements then kick in a 10-foot setback from all the surrounding property lines. So I don't, again, this is a very unique situation that, obviously it's got the road on the front, a railroad on the back, a county, owned, city maintained sewer lift station on one side, and a Aspro Inc. It's basically, they don't really use that first stretch for much of anything. It's just kind of a wooded buffer area. But once you get into the area that Aspro does use, their asphalt yard. So it's definitely unique. But if you're going to approve the goat, you would want to look at approving a variance to the fencing to allow that fencing to not have to be the 10-foot setback. And then the only other remaining question would be if there is still fencing or still proposed to be fencing that would be out closer to the road than what the house setback is. And if so, then you'd need a variance to allow the urban animal hobby farm to be included in the front yard.
Okay.
All right.
In that picture, you can see the tree line. That's where the previous fence sits. That hole on the right side of the property where all them trees go around all the way to the railroad.
And
that's all pre-existing fencing from the previous owner when she.
And that you weren't proposing to change?
No, I wanted to put the new fence exactly where
So that would only be allowed if they approve a variance, because that's closer to the road than what your house is. So that's considered part of the front yard.
That's what I figured. The pre-existing fence was already approved. I didn't talk to the old owner. She's not been in contact with me because I tried to ask her, but I'm pretty sure she didn't because it's not over 4 foot tall. But it's right on the property line.
Yeah, and a fence that's not for a hobby farm can go right up to the property line.
Right,
It's just when you make it be for a hobby farm that it changes the fencing requirements.
Okay.
So I just note that to the board. If the goat is to be approved as part of the request, then it would need to also have a variance to the fencing requirement that it not have to be 10 feet from the property lines, and that it could be in that front yard area.
Eric, I would say that probably the reason for the setbacks are to keep it away from the adjoining properties, not any other reason.
Yes. Yeah, Shader staff, I agree.
Yeah, we're not, we're keeping it farther away from a railroad, so. When I first moved to Waterloo and I drove out Logan Avenue, I always had to be careful that those chickens on that corner didn't ever come out into the street. So,
yeah,
far cry from that scenario. I guess we have to ask if there's anybody else there that would speak in favor of the request. Thank you, Mr. Clapper.
Thank you.
Is there anybody there that wishes to speak against the request? Okay, hearing and seeing none. So who's ever going to make the motion, whatever they're going to make, just to clarify, we've got to make it so that the fencing on the rear could be up to the property line. Is that, Eric, is that what we'd be talking about? Or Chris, whoever.
This is Schrader with staff. It'd be more than the rear, so I guess I would just list it as a variance to the 10-foot setback requirement, because that would essentially be on all sides except the front yard, and then the front yard is a separate setback requirement that's not allowed in the front yard. It also doesn't
Okay.
meet density requirements. I don't know that we necessarily need to include in the motion all of the exact numbers and how far it's short. So I would guess maybe if it's just noted as part of that, a variance to the density requirements to allow whatever you're opting to allow, then that will cover that.
Okay. April, do you want to make the motion then?
So first I wanted to ask, so this was originally made out for 13 chickens. Now he has 11. Can we just decide that 12 is a good number?
Whatever.
I think he was talking about the density requirement.
Yeah, I know, but if we're gonna put everything out there, then if he's gonna have limitations as far as how many chickens and his goat and fence and all that, can we just lay it all out?
Well, I think what Eric was suggesting is that we don't have to do that. We gave a variance to the density requirement of the.
So we don't have to put out numbers for any kind of animals.
No, we do. We have to put out either 9, 11, 12, 13, whatever.
No, not to exceed, because they die all the time.
Yeah, but if you could say it's 9, then that's the max, or 11, or 12, or 13.
Okay.
I don't think we'd want to exceed 13. He has 11, from what I understand. So you could say 11.
So this
April,
request
it's up to you. You make
this
the
request would have to then also allow a variance to the fence not being 12 foot from the property line and the density requirement. I'm sorry, Eric.
This Schrader with staff, and I just conversed with the applicant, and he would be happy with the 12 as well.
Not to exceed 12.
And I'm sorry, April, was there another question?
Okay, so then this would have to say that there would be a variance to his fence not being 10 foot from the property line.
In being in the front yard.
And
variance to the density requirement.
okay,
allow
the fence not 10
one goat
foot
and
from,
12 chickens.
so the fence not 10 foot from the property line and in the front yard.
Yep.
And the density requirements. 12 chickens, no more than 12 chickens and 1 goat.
That sounds good.
Okay,
Go for it.
I'm gonna take it slow here.
Take it away.
So, I make a motion that we approve, I gotta make sure I get these terms correct here. A special permit for an urban animal hobby farm that would allow up to 12 chickens and 1 goat at 3919 Texas Street. Okay. So do I need to put in there like the area dedicated and all that kind of stuff?
No, just with the following conditions.
With the following conditions. That the fence line not be 10 foot from the property line and in the front yard.
I would say does not have to be 10
Yes.
foot.
And yes, you're correct, and does not have to be 10 foot from the property line and the front yard. And then for the density requirement, that it is not required, correct?
Well, you could say there was 3 variances. One for the 10-foot setback from the property line. 2, allowing a hobby farm with a fencing in the front yard. And the 3rd is a variance to the density requirement for 1 goat and no more than 12 chickens.
Eric's nodding his head yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, thanks for that. Okay, so let me start over with so number 1, that the fence does not have to be 10 foot from the property line And number 2, not in the front yard. And number 3, that the density requirement be,
April, Eric's
Yeah?
saying, Eric's saying that so that it can be.
maybe
in
you
front.
should do this motion because I can't see Eric.
Eric, turn the camera around on yourself. He
You
said
know,
so that
I
it's,
think Jerry, April, I think Jerry had it. If, do you want to turn it back to Jerry and have her do
Yeah,
it?
let's turn it back to Jerry. That's a good idea. That's an excellent idea.
I think she wrote it. I think she wrote
Thanks for
down
your
it.
support, April. Here we go.
It was worded correctly.
I move that we approve a special permit to allow an urban animal hobby farm located at 3919 Texas Street with the following conditions. 1, a variance that allows a fence without the 10-foot setback from the property line requirement. 2, that we allow the hobby farm to operate in the front yard. And 3, that there is, the third variance is to the density requirement. We're allowing 1 goat and up to 12 chickens.
Eric said it's a go.
He gave you thumbs up.
I'll second.
Can we amend that just slightly?
Yes, please.
Add to it, just add to it the
Yes.
reason why we are approving this
Excellent.
for the uniqueness.
Yes. This recommended approval for this particular hobby farm is for the uniqueness of the location of the property with the county pump station on one side, an Aspro industrial lot on the other, and bounded by a street and a railroad.
Okay,
I'll second that amendment.
okay. Any questions, comments? I think we got it right.
Yes, well said, Jerry.
Thanks for a group effort.
Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you've got your 12 chickens. Go out and buy one more.
What's the goat's name?
Like Bertram, but Gotram. I don't know.
I can't hear.
Biltram.
Gotram.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so nice.
Gotram, sorry, Gotram. It's called Gotram.
Gotram.
My 3-year-old named it.
Yeah.
Gotram should have an apple.
Yeah, we have 2 apple trees on the property also.
Okay,
Perfect.
moving on.
Okay, our next request by Kenneth Dolan II for a variance to allow for a single-family home without an accessory structure garage in the R2 1 and 2 family district to legalize a garage that was converted to living space without construction of a replacement garage at 914 Reber Avenue. Staff report.
Yeah, this is a hybrid with the staff report. The applicant applied and was approved by building inspection to convert an attached garage to living space without having plans to construct a replacement garage. The zoning ordinance requires all new single-family homes to have a garage attached or detached when constructed. Therefore, the structure became non-compliant once the garage was converted to living space. The property is located 600 feet west of the intersection of Fletcher Avenue and Reber Avenue and has been zoned R2 1 and 2 family residence district since the adoption of the zoning ordinance of February of 1969. The Blackhawk County Assessor's record shows that the building was constructed in 2004. The zoning ordinance states that all newly constructed homes must have a minimum of a 14 by 20 attached or detached garage. The loss of the garage will reduce the amount of on-street parking spaces available and thus potentially increase parking congestion in the neighborhood. Although the applicant is currently going through a driveway appeal process to be allowed a second driveway where additional off-street parking could occur, allowing for the garage to be converted to living space does increase the likelihood of more street parking congestion in the neighborhood, but the applicant is attempting to address this by adding additional off-street parking spaces. Future land use map designates the property and surrounding uses area as a low-density residential. Low-density residential uses are defined as residential uses to exist or planned at a density of less than or equal to 6 housing units per acre. Residential density shall include street and public uses, one calculated for vacant or newly developing areas. For situations of infill development, street and public use area shall be excluded. This particular request is located within a primary growth area. Section of the zoning ordinance that pertains to this request, Chapter 5, General Regulations, E5, accessory structures. The applicant applied for a driveway appeal to allow for a second curb cut for the driveway. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a 5-1 vote. And then this just happened the other week. The City Council did approve the off-street parking request, so they'll be able to have an adequate amount of off-street parking and have the 2 required spaces that are needed. So they now meet the parking requirement. The only variance is just now needed for the garage being converted to living space. Criteria, lack of reasonable return. A building inspection approved a building permit in 2019 to allow the applicant to convert their attached garage to a living space without a replacement garage. The conversion work has already been completed. Uniqueness. There would appear to be somewhat of a uniqueness to this request because the building permit had already been issued through building inspection for work in 2019, and the garage has already been converted to living space. Building Inspections is now aware of the need for our department to review garage space conversions to ensure a property still has the minimum garage space required. Public considerations. Approval of the variance to allow for a home without a garage would not appear to have a negative impact upon the surrounding neighborhood. The garage has already been converted to living quarters. There are other houses in the neighborhood without garage space that were built before the requirement was added to the zoning ordinance in 2015. Therefore, staff recommends that the request for a variance to allow for a single-family home without an accessory structure garage in the R2 1 and 2 family district to allow for garage space to be converted to living space without the construction of a new garage be approved for the following reasons. 1, there would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request as a building permit was already issued in 2019 to allow for the garage space to be converted to living space without a replacement garage, and the work has already been completed. Number 2, there would appear to be somewhat of a uniqueness to the request as the building permit was already approved in 2019 to allow for a garage space to be converted to living space without a replacement garage, and the work has already been completed. So that is the staff report.
Just have one question. The 2 parking spots that have been approved, those would have to be hard surfaced?
Correct, yes. It has to be hard surfaced.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, we're cleaning up something that's already been done, and it went through the city process, but one department didn't speak to another. Is that the net of this?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes, we're fixing an oversight, essentially, and making it conforming.
Okay, is there anybody there who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Okay, is there anybody there who wishes to speak against the request?
The applicant is here if there are any questions.
Does any of the staff, or I'm sorry, any of the members have any questions of the applicant? Okay. Hearing or seeing none, is there a motion to approve the request? Or is there a motion on the request?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the request by Kenneth M. Dolan II for a variance to allow for a single-family home without an accessory structure garage in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district by legalizing a garage that was converted to living space without the construction of a replacement garage at 914 Reber Avenue for the following reasons. Number 1, there would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request as a building permit was already issued in 2019 to allow for garage space to be converted to living space without a replacement garage, and the work has already been completed. Number 2, there would appear to be somewhat of a uniqueness to the request, as the building permit was already issued in 2019 to allow a garage space to be converted to living space without a replacement garage, and the work has already been completed.
Would you want, before you finish that, would you want to add that the parking spots need to be hard surfaced?
That's not a part of this, is it?
No, but I'm making that suggestion, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Staff?
I'll have to do it regardless, but it's fine if you add it.
Okay. And number 3, that the parking spaces need to be hard surfaced.
Thank you.
Second,
Any comments, questions?
I only want to make one comment on page 57 under criteria. Number 1, lack of reasonable return. The last sentence, spell check changed it. So it should say the conversion, just so that our record is straight, not conversation.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? Okay, been approved.
On this next item, did you get?
This one?
Number 8, request by Jerry and Carmen Mullinex for a variance to allow for the construction of an attached garage with a 3-foot setback, 2 foot short of the minimum 5-yard setback required in an R2 1 and 2 family district located at 458 Devonshire Drive. Staff report.
This is Western with staff. The applicant is requesting approval of the setback variance to allow for an attached garage on the west side of the house. The property is located along the north side of the 400 block of Devonshire Drive, east of Amesboro. That'll be west of Amesboro, right? The property in question, as well as all other surrounding properties, are zoned R2 1 and 2 family residence district and have been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. The request to have a 3-foot setback for an accessory structure would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood, although most of the homes, including the attached garages in the neighborhood, do meet the 5-foot side yard setback. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the surrounding area. The applicant has an existing 16-foot by 22-foot or 352 square foot detached garage that is not big enough for their needs. The applicant is requesting to build a 19-foot by 30-foot attached garage to their existing home with a 3-foot side yard setback, 2 feet short of the minimum 5-foot side yard setback required. A similar request to build a 20 by 24 attached garage located across the street at 467 Devonshire Drive was approved by the Board of Adjustment on April 25th, 2000. The applicant has submitted a signed petition of support by 3 neighbors located at 466 Devonshire, 467, and 473. That petition did not make it into the packet. It was on a small little piece of paper. It's kind of hard to scan in. But I do have that here, and I can show to Mr. Beckman. Lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return, as the applicant could build a smaller garage that meets the minimum side yard setbacks. Uniqueness, a similar request to build a 20 by 24 attached garage located across the street at 467 Devonshire Drive was approved by the Board of Adjustment on April 25th, 2000. Public considerations. Approval of the 3-foot side yard setback would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area. The applicant has submitted a petition in support of the request, which includes the property owner immediately to the west at 466 Devonshire Drive. There are no objections to the request on file. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Jerry and Carmen Mullinex for a variance to allow for the construction of an attached garage with a 3-foot setback, 2 feet short of the minimum 5-foot setback required in a R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 458 Devonshire Drive be approved for the following reasons. The request will not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood or on traffic conditions. A similar request at 467 Devonshire Drive was approved by the Board of Adjustment with no known negative effects. The applicant submitted a signed petition in support of the request. There has been no opposition to the request. I believe the applicant is here in the audience if you have questions of her.
Any questions of staff first? Just a quick comment, a 19-foot garage is, I don't even think that's considered a 2-stall garage. It would be a large 1.5 stall garage, but I think it'd be pretty tight to consider a 2-stall. Okay, does anybody we speak in favor of the request? Is there anybody who would speak against the request? If we have no questions of the applicant, does anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request by Jerry and Carmen Mullenix for a variance to allow for the construction of an attached garage with a 3-foot setback, 2 feet short of the minimum 5 feet side yard setback required in an R2 1 and 2 family residence district located at 458 Devonshire Drive be approved for the following reasons. Number one, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood or on traffic conditions. Number two, a similar request at 467 Devonshire Drive was approved by the Board of Adjustment with no known negative effects. Number three, the applicant submitted a signed petition in support of the request. And number four, there has been no opposition to the request.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Ninth request by Brenda Etten for a variance to allow for the construction of a 2,560 square foot detached accessory structure, 760 square feet over the maximum of 1,800 square feet in an A1 agricultural district located at 3554 and 3560 East Shawless Road. Staff report.
This is Weston with staff. The area in question is on the edge of town in a fairly rural area. However, there are approximately 25 homes within 500 feet of the property. The zoning of the property, A1 agricultural district. Despite the A1 zoning, detached structures, accessory structures are limited to a 15-foot in height, cannot exceed the maximum 1,800 square feet, and cannot have corrugated metal siding because the use of the property is in a single-family home on less than 35 acres. However, the location of the property and zoning classification could be considered unique circumstances. The proposed building size and would appear to be consistent, therefore compatible with the neighborhood. The applicant owns both homes located at 3554 and 3560 East Shawless Road. The applicant intends to demolish the home at 3560 and then build a new home in the future, and then will demolish the second home. At the January 20th Board of Adjustment meeting, the applicant was granted variances to allow for the construction of a 26 by 26 square foot garage with a height of 20 by 20.17, 5.17 over the 15-foot maximum accessory structure height, a variance to allow for the construction of a 40 by 40 detached accessory structure with a height of 21.33, 3.33 over the 15 maximum accessory structure height. 6, that's right, we talked about that. Variances to construct 2,276 square feet of accessory structures, 476 square feet over the maximum 1,800 square feet of accessory structures allowed and a variance to have the corrugated metal siding. The applicant has since decided to build one 2,560 square foot building that is 284 square feet larger than the two buildings that were granted variance at the January 28th, 2020 meeting. The proposed building, along with an existing 120 square foot shed, is 880 square feet over the maximum 1,800 square feet allowed and 404 square feet more than the previously approved variance. Therefore, a variance to exceed the maximum 1,800 square feet of accessory detached structures by an additional 404 feet for a new total of 1,680 square feet is required. There are no additional variances needed to allow for the construction to exceed the maximum height of 15 feet allowed and to have corrugated metal siding, as those numbers have not changed from the previous approval. Lack of reasonable return. There does not appear to be a lack of reasonable return. The property is currently used for residential purposes and can have 1,800 square feet of accessory buildings on it. Uniqueness. The property in question is unique in that the property is located in a rural area and is consistent with accessory buildings of the neighboring area and would be located in a property zone A1 agricultural district. Public consideration. Staff has heard no opposition to the request. The request will not appear to alter the essential character of the building. Staff recommends the request by Brendan Etten for a variance to allow for a total of 2,680 square feet of detached accessory structures, 880 square feet over the maximum of 1,800 square feet in an A1 agricultural district located at 3554 and 3560 East Charles Road be approved for the following reasons. The property in question is unique in that the property is located in a rural area and is consistent with accessory buildings of the neighboring area and would be located on property zone A1 agricultural district. Staff has heard no objections to the request. The request will not appear to alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
Did we lose Brad? I think we did. So I will take over. Brad? Oh, there he is.
Can you hear us, Brad?
Hello?
Okay, we got you.
Okay.
The staff report was just completed.
Okay.
And I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Go
Right,
ahead.
Chris, I'm confused. I've seen in the agenda and then even in this report, sometimes the request is for a 2,560 square foot pole barn, 760 feet over, and then sometimes it's 2,680 or 880 over. What are the real numbers?
Let's see. So, I think I understand.
Stay on top of, okay, look on top of page 71.
Yeah, it's kind of just the way we worded it. It was one of those deals. Do we really get into that number? They're going to confuse everyone. So what you got is, let me get this straight here. So we have a number that is 2,560 is now the new total for the new building. That is 284 square feet larger than the two buildings that were granted variances in January. That part we probably could have left out. That might be confusing. The proposed building, along with an existing 120 square foot shed. So the new building is 40 by 46. That's bigger than what was originally, what's that? 40 by 64. Oh, I'm sorry, 40 by 64, which is bigger than the two that was previously granted variances for. So now it's 880 square feet over the 1,800.
Okay, you start your comment by saying that the building size is 2,560, the new one. But down in your staff recommendation, you say the building is 2,680. How big is the new building?
put this, can you?
That's because we added the 120 square foot shed
can you
into
put
the
this
mix.
picture up? This one, is that the shed we're talking about?
Yeah.
Back up.
The little one in the back.
So the picture on display now is the 120 square foot shed that they're referencing.
Page number is.
Sorry. 75.
73?
Page 75, page 75.
Okay,
The bottom picture, it says looking south at new shed in rear property.
uh-huh.
That's in the verbiage, that's the 120 square foot shed, correct, guys?
Correct.
Which takes it from 2,560 square feet, which is this new proposed building. You add the 120, and that's where they came up with the 2,680, correct? Correct.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So so the construction of either of the new houses, is that imminent?
The applicant's in the audience and he can come up and address that if you want him to.
Camera. Turn it.
Sure.
Brendan Etten with 3554 East Shawless Road. And then, yeah, we're going to be building a new house on the 3554 property eventually, but we're just needing a shop for now to kind of store all our stuff and tear the other stuff down and get it out of the way. And then a few years down the road, we're going to tear down the other house and build a new house in front or behind that one, or essentially.
Is that few
I,
years
I,
down the road?
Yep.
I guess my question is, when we approved this in January,
Yep.
and maybe I'm wrong, I'm trying to think back, I kind of thought that one of the houses, or maybe both of the houses, that you were going to start this new house almost immediately.
Not
But
immediately.
what you're
We just
saying is-
remodeled the one house to live in it for the time being.
So which house are
Okay.
you presently living in?
The 3554. And then the 3561 will be getting torn down as soon as all this other stuff is done. Because there's the 3560 and then the shop behind that, and then all the garages that are directly behind that as well. All that's going to get demolished once we get the new shop. So it'll just be the 3554, and then there's a small one-stall garage. It's too small for a vehicle to even fit in, so then we'll just have those two buildings and then the big building in back. And then the small, I guess, really small shed in back, the utility shed.
So, and maybe this is a question for Eric or Chris, was our original to do this new building, or or the two original buildings, did we approve it to tear down those buildings first, or did we have a time frame, or?
This is Schrader with staff. We didn't require them to be tore down first. I don't recall that a time frame was discussed. It could certainly be discussed as part of this one. I just know that, yeah, it was discussed with the last one, that one house would be demolished at the same time as all of the other outbuildings would be getting demolished, which is what's going to leave just the one house on the property, which that one will eventually get demolished as well, but not until after then a new house is built, which that that might be several years out.
Yeah. I think what they're also might be getting confused with was the garage that we were going to build was going to be a part of the house. They were going to be attached at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we talked to the builder, it was a little bit more expensive, and it was just easier to go this route and then do the garage attached to the house if we do that when the time comes.
Yeah, that might have been part of your confusion, Chair, that the plans showed the shop building that he wanted to build first, and then a future house addition to that, but he's not planning to. Yeah, he's planning now in the future when he'd build a house, it would be standalone. Which is, that part didn't really affect any of the variances.
Right. So is the construction of this building, this new building, is that imminent? You ready to start that?
Yep, we have materials dropped off already, actually, at our house.
Okay. So putting in any requirements to have these buildings tore down within 12 months would not be a detriment to you at all, would there?
Yep. As soon as we get the one building up and I can move all my stuff out of the other buildings into that one, they're ready to go. They're kind of
Okay.
weak as it is. They could fall over the next windstorm if we got another windstorm.
Yeah. Don't talk to me about windstorms.
Yeah.
I've been going through one. So I guess I'm probably thinking that we should put some kind of a time frame in to get these other buildings. And I would recommend maybe a year. Give them a year.
Mr. Chair, why, help me understand why.
Well, I was confused on the first one, and I think maybe we should have put something in there the first time. It'll just enhance the area too.
I'm just thinking given what we're all experiencing now, that there might be, potentially there could be a delay.
Schrader with staff, and I mean, it is a good thing to have in there because we're granting a variance to have a certain set of accessory size limit, but technically, once this building is built and until the other stuff is demoed, it will be exceeding that. So by granting some sort of time limit on that basically recognizes that it can exceed it, but only for a temporary period. It
So,
probably
Eric,
should have
is
been addressed last time as well.
So
Okay.
the 12 months is a reasonable time frame?
This is Schrader. I feel that's reasonable, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I got a quick question. So
Okay.
where is we're looking, guys, we're looking at page 72. And I'm asking the applicant, where is this new building going to be built? Let me rephrase that. Do you have to tear anything down
Nope.
in order to build this new building?
This is the old buildings here, and then that's where the shop will be, so it'll be set back behind everything.
So to the rear of all of the existing buildings that show in the picture?
Yep.
Okay, and then
All that's
the
getting-
house is going to be built where?
This is actually the old plans here where the house would have been directly in front of it.
Flip.
I don't think it gets through there. I didn't know how much it changed.
This is
Okay.
the old print. I just crossed out the garage. basically.
Oh, okay.
So this is the new building. This is the, okay, so the new home would sit in front of and straddle the property line, if you will. Okay. All right, guys, I'm looking at a document that the applicant provided, which shows this new building that he's requesting would be built back. Actually, if you go to page 7.5, where it shows the small shed, the new building is going to be built somewhat in front of or closer to that shed. And then the new house he's proposing would be built in front of the new building that he's asking for today, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
helpful.
All right.
So, Mr. Chair, in the staff recommendations, would it be more correct to say, on the second line, allow for a total of a 2680 square foot detached accessory structures? Because the 120 square feet was included in that number?
Correct.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, is there anybody else in the audience wish to speak in favor of the request? Okay. Thank you for your comments. Was your name Etten?
Yep, Brendan Etten.
Okay, I didn't want to assume. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anybody there who wish to speak against the request? Okay. I'd entertain a motion then, if there's no further questions.
Gary, I think you got a pretty good handle on this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request by Brendan Etten for a variance to allow for a total of total variance to allow for accessory structures and for a total of 2,680 square feet detached. Oh, Dan, hold on. I move that we approve the request by Brendan Etten for a variance to allow for a total of 2,680 square feet for detached accessory structures, 880 square feet over the maximum of 1,800 square feet in an A1 agricultural district located at 3554 and 3560 East Chalice Road. Be approved for the following reasons. One, the property in question is unique in that the property is located in a rural area and is consistent with the accessory buildings of the neighboring area and would be located on property zoned A1 agricultural district. Two, staff has heard no opposition to the request. The request would not appear to alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And three, the applicant has 12 months to demolish the current accessory structures.
And the home at 3560.
And the home located at 3560 East Chalice Road.
Mr. Chair and Jerry, would it be appropriate to put in here that this request nullifies the request made in January 28th, or it supersedes or whatever? Just asking.
I'd defer to staff on that.
Eric says it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, just add it in, Jerry.
All right, hold on. My phone. Okay. Number 4, this request supersedes the request that was approved by the Board of Adjustment on January 28th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
No, was it 19?
Yeah, no.
April seconded. Is there any further comment? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I hope you got this next one down pat.
Okay, our final request by Modern Design for a variance to the parking requirements that requires that all off-street parking facilities fronting on a public street be designed in a manner that would permit entrance and exit by forward movement of the vehicle in a C2 commercial district located at 1224 LaPorte Road. Staff report.
Yes, this is Heiberger with the staff report. The applicant is proposing to make changes to their off-street parking facility that will enable it to have 8 additional parking spaces. Spaces would be on private property, but would only be accessible from the public street, requiring that vehicles either have to back out of the street into the stalls or back out of the stalls into the street, either of which is prohibited by the parking regulations of the zoning ordinance. The applicant is proposing that they be back in stalls, which people then would pull forward into the street to exit the stalls. The property is located at 1224 LaPorte Road in a Zone C2 commercial district and has been as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. The surrounding area is Zone C2 R2 Commercial District to the north and south, R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District to the west, and a zoned M1 Light Industrial District to the east on the opposite side of Highway 218. There would not appear to be a negative impact on the area. The site is primarily zoned commercial, and the off-street parking facility is currently being utilized as a parking lot. The parking lot is being reconfigured to add 8 additional parking spaces. Current parking lot has approximately 56 spaces. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on traffic in the area due to the fact that the site is currently utilized as off-street parking facility. The off-street parking facility is being reconfigured in order to add 8 additional parking spaces. Staff does have concerns that drivers will turn west along Cornwall Avenue and turn directly into the parking spaces, which would cause possible visibility problems when they attempt to back out of the spaces. However, Cornwall Avenue is a low-traffic street, and Prush-Shield Fire and Safety, which is located on the north side of the street, does not generate a large amount of customer traffic. The applicant has indicated that the parking spots will be for employees who can be directed to back into the parking space, and the stalls can be assigned as employee back-in parking. There will be no direct connection from the parking spaces located off of Cornwall Avenue to the main Image Point parking lot along LaPorte Road. The main parking lot is the former LaPorte frontage road that has been vacated, and the applicant has installed jersey barriers on the north side in order to stop people from using the parking lot as a shortcut. The proposed request would be in conformance with the classification of this area as commercial on the future land use map within the City of Waterloo Comprehensive Plan, adopted September 22nd, 2008. The sections of the zoning ordinance that pertain to the request, the zoning ordinance requires every parking lot to be arranged as to provide for the orderly and safe loading or unloading of parking and storage of self-propelled vehicles. In addition, all off-street parking facilities fronting on a public street shall be designed as to permit entrance and exit by forward movement of the vehicle. The backing or backward movement of vehicles from an off-street parking facility onto a street shall be strictly prohibited except for certain residential uses. They are requesting the variance to reconfigure the existing off-street parking facility so they can add 8 additional spaces. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return with this request. The applicant could reconfigure their off-street parking facility and add additional stalls in a way that is in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Uniqueness: the existing site is currently being used as an off-street parking facility. The variance is being requested so that the applicant can add 8 additional parking spaces in an area that has a shortage of parking. Modifications suggest for the parking lot will not result in changes to adjoining properties or affect the entrances on the report or negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood aesthetically. The City of Waterloo has received complaints from adjoining property owners along Lorraine Avenue because of the amount of on-street parking from that and other commercial uses. They have voiced concerns from Impact Point and Enterprise Rent-A-Car that have been parking their vehicles along Lorraine Avenue. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Modern Design on behalf of Image Point for variance to the parking requirement that requires that all off-street parking facilities fronting on a public street be designed in a manner that would permit entrance and exit by forward movement of the vehicle in the C2 Commercial District located at 1224 LaPorte Road be approved for the following reasons. It would appear that the request would not have a negative impact on the area because the applicant is just reconfiguring an existing off-street parking facility to add 8 more spaces. The project will increase the number of parking spaces by 8 in an area that is deficient in parking. Subject to the following conditions: the parking area will not block the sidewalk or street system for the area, and that the stalls be designed and assigned for employees' use only, and to be back-in parking. And that's the staff report.
So designed to be back-in parking, what does that mean?
Signed parking. Okay. I'm sorry, what was the question?
So what would be required to state that they're back in parking? Signage?
Signage.
Okay.
How is back-end parking enforced?
Would be by the business.
So I have heard quite a bit of talking about the parking problem over there on Lorraine. And is 8 parking spaces going to solve the problem that the people in the neighborhood have? Or
it may not. I guess it would just help address the, it'll just give some more additional spaces, but I don't think it's going to totally fix the problem, no.
Does this parking is going to be on the north side, which would be Cornwall, right?
Correct.
And it's for the business, modern design, correct?
Image Point.
Image Point.
Oh, for Image Point. So what it's saying is that 8 employees at Image Point will now park in this back-end parking lot, and it should alleviate some of the issues, but Enterprise Rent-A-Car is not even addressed here.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Nor should it be.
Guys, the applicant is here if you got questions for the applicant.
Any questions?
Yeah, what is the name of the business? I have it listed 3 ways in this report.
Modern Design is the builder.
We are the builder and the architect of the addition that was recently put on. The owner of the company that is there on site is Image Point. They are a union embroidery and screen printing shop that produces hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts for different union companies around the United States.
Thank you.
So I guess my question.
Go ahead.
My question actually was going to be for Image Point, but I mean, and that was that the issue on Lorraine, is that all specific to Enterprise, or are Image Point employees parking over there as well? Or do you even know that?
There are some Image Point employees that park over there. One of the issues that comes to play in all of this is that they are a growing business. There's only a handful of union screen printing and embroidery shops in the United States. And so they're just growing by default because of that. And so with the way that that area is zoned, and then try and help me out here. I'm trying to remember what the building type is as far as when it comes to parking. Normally when you have like a bank, it says you have to have so many parking spots for every so many employees. This is the one of 2 exceptions in the planning and zoning code where it works it from the backwards. So it says you can have 2 employees for every 1 off-street parking spot that you have. And so while it does help get cars off the street, it also allows them to hire more people. So if they have 8 additional parking spots, then that means that there's 16 more people that they can employ. So it's kind of a, does it take some parking spots off the street? Yeah, it probably would. Are they at the point right now where they're ready to hire 16 new people? No, they're not. Could that happen in the coming years? Yes, it could.
Which would then put them on the street again.
It would put them on the street, but currently that space right there, I think it only allows for 2, maybe 3 parking spots in the current street. So you would be taking an additional 5, 6 cars off the street and parking them there at the current situation.
and just for my purposes, perhaps the rest of the board, this new parking area is going to be on the north side of the building. You're going to eliminate the curb
Yes.
on Cornwall and just make that a flat approach, similar to like a driveway that would lead up to this parking area, correct?
Correct. In a sense, it would be very similar to when you parallel park and you back in. Although due to the fact that you wouldn't have car parking in the gutter area or the typical parallel parking spot, that and along with the approach that would lead up to the sidewalk, you have that entire space for a car to pull off the street and then stop and back in so that they're completely out of the flow of traffic in the process of backing into the parking spot. And then when they pull out, it's no different than pulling out of a parking lot onto a street. You have much better visibility pulling out that way.
Is there presently a sidewalk on that side of the street?
There is at Image Point, but Image Point only. The rest of the street does not have sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you.
And we would provide new sidewalk where this curb cut would be going in.
I guess I have a question, then, John, maybe you can answer this. Could they park on the street in front of the curb cut? Is that legal? No. Okay. So in other words, they wouldn't get 8 plus 4 more or 5 more spots.
That's correct.
Not at least until you ticket and tow them.
Okay.
What is the current parking requirement for Image Point? How many parking spaces are they required to have, and how many do they currently have?
I'll try and talk a little bit about that. The addition that was put on requires 24 parking spots because it is a business occupancy, and that is so many square feet requires so many parking spots. The rest of the building is storage and factory, and that requires you to have one off-street parking spot for every 2 employees. So when that limit is theoretically reached, then you can't have any more employees during that shift.
This is Schrader with staff. Yeah, that is the one parking space for each 2 employees. Is based on information that the applicant submitted as part of the building permit process for the addition that they did. They were meeting all parking requirements without these additional 8 stalls, but the applicants are recognizing that there is some parking issues, so they want to try and maximize parking on site, which is why they're proposing these 8 stalls.
You would think that ordinance would be, or that regulation or whatever, wouldn't really work. If assuming that half the people would have a parking place, if you're fully employed, you only have half the people have parking spots.
This is Schrader with staff. So the parking restrictions are always very difficult to figure out what's best. It was reviewed and amended to some degree back in 2011 when we did an overhaul of the entire zoning ordinance and made lots of changes throughout the ordinance. Parking was one area that was looked at and was updated. We certainly look at how other communities do it, but we really see examples all over the board. It's very common that you're either going to regulate your parking based on your building size. So in other words, the number of employees doesn't matter, and it's just based on square footage of the building or square footage of, a certain usable space of the building. The other common methodology is to base it off of employees. A lot of uses are based off of just a square footage. It's a lot easier to calculate, and it's less frequently changing than employees. But there are certain uses that basing it off of employees makes a lot more sense. I think if you get into larger employment places, if you were to require something to the effect of one parking space per every employee, you would, generally speaking, see a lot of excess parking well beyond what their typical needs would be, because you are going to have situations where people carpool, where people use public transportation, the bus system to get to and from work. So it's kind of a balancing act of not trying to require an excessive amount that leads to a concrete jungle that doesn't hardly get used, versus having not enough that can cause congestion on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the right thing and sometimes it's not. I understand. Okay, is there any other questions or comments? Is there anybody there that wishes to speak against the request?
No.
Okay. I guess, therefore, entertain a motion.
Before I make that, or whomever makes it, sorry, should part of this be, or can we require signage, or is that out of our bailiwick? In terms, I mean, in the signage that says back in only.
This is Schrader with staff. We can require that. That was the staff recommendation. There was a slight typo there. It said, I think it said assigned. It was supposed to be just signed. You see where it's at?
Under the
Under the condition, under the staff recommended condition.
Number 2.
Okay.
See where it says the word assigned? That was supposed to be just signed. So that is a condition that the board can place on that. And as the applicant just noted, they're not opposed to that. They had actually kind of thrown that out there because staff was expressing concerns. We don't typically see a lot of back out parking off on private property. The ordinance actually prohibits it. You have some areas where it is on-street parking, like on 11th Street. Those are designed to pull forward in, and then you back out onto the street. They suggested this back-in approach and pull forward because they think it can leave to a little safer. You're going to be looking a lot more diligently at what's there as you're backing into the stall, and then have very clear visibility as you're pulling out into it. But given the concern on the angle that they're proposing there and what direction a lot of the individuals parking there might be coming from, that's why we expressed the concern that they would come from the east from LaPorte Road, heading west on Cornwall, and then just pull straight forward in. But they noted that these will be intended to be for employees who can be instructed on how to park there. So they agreed that they could do that instruction and sign it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Well, I think you just volunteered to do this.
Okay, here we go. I'll make a motion to approve the request by Modern Design on behalf of Image Point for a variance to the parking requirement that requires that all off-street parking facilities fronting on a public street be designed in a manner that would permit entrance and exit by forward movement of the vehicle in a C2 commercial district located at 1224 LaPorte Road. Be approved for the following reasons. Number one, actually for the following conditions. Number one, the parking area will not block the sidewalk or street system for the area. And number two, that the stalls be designated and signed for employees use only and to be back-in parking.
Second?
Okay. Any further comment?
I'd just like our records to have them corrected to the correct name of the business, Image Point, Pointe.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Who
It was
seconded?
approved.
Was it Jerry or April?
Yeah, I did, Jerry.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. With that, we've concluded our decision items. Is there any further discussion? If
What is the
not,
next meeting date?
Was it September 22nd?
Yes.
Thank you.
okay. And I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are done. Thank you.
Thank you all.